NEWSCAST Senior Boys National Championship starting this Wednesday at 8 p.m. live on Cable 12.
The latest unemployment figures are out. This survey looking better than the last one. A local church in the dark after being hit by thieves. Government officials fear irregularities occurred in the 2011 BTC sale. The opposition fires back. Plus, a local band hits the international stage. Those stories and a whole lot more coming up. I'm Vonnie Toot, and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the Department of Statistics has released the results for its latest labor force and household income survey. And those results reveal some good news. Overall unemployment is down, but the jobless rate has unfortunately increased in one key area. Nakia DeVoe gives us the latest in this report.
The results of that November survey, which covered a 6-month period, indicate that the national unemployment rate is now 15.4%, down from 16.2% recorded back in May.
The latest survey, conducted in late October and early November, shows that 2,600 jobs have been added to the economy since the last survey was conducted in May of 2013. 1,080 of those jobs were on New Providence, and 820 of those jobs were created on Grand Bahama. The rest of the jobs were spread throughout the archipelago. The numbers also show that the labor force increased slightly, less than 1%. It now totals 196,880 people. The statement says that both New Providence and Grand Bahama experienced decreases in their unemployment rates. In the case of New Providence, the rate is now 15.6%, down from 15.9% in May. Grand Bahama's unemployment rate saw a more significant improvement, dropping from 19.5% to 16.8%. There are also fewer discouraged workers in the country. This category consists of people who are willing and able to work but did not seek employment because they are so discouraged they have given up looking. That population declined by 15% over the 6-month period. Both New Providence and Grand Bahama experienced a decline, with 13.5% in the former and 18.5% in the latter.
But there is some bad news. The unemployment rate among young people has increased again. The joblessness rate of that group continues to be considerably higher than any other.
The statement says the overall unemployment rate for young people ages 15 to 24 is 32.3%, higher than the rate recorded in May. Back then, the Department of Statistics reported that unemployment among youths was 30.8%. On New Providence, a total of 22,860 people were recorded as unemployed. Of that figure, 16.2% are women and 15.1% are men. On Grand Bahama, 4,240 people are recorded as unemployed. 18.5% are women and 15.1% are men. The statement says that in New Providence, while the number of people in both the labor force and employed labor force was almost equally distributed by sex, the number of females was slightly higher than males in both groups and was also higher among the unemployed. However, in Grand Bahama, the traditional pattern prevailed. Men outnumbered women in both the labor force and employed labor force and were fewer in number among the unemployed. Reporting for NB12, I'm Nakia DeVoe.
The government is determined to find out whether any irregularities occurred during the 2011 sale of a majority stake in BTC to Cable and Wireless Communications. That's according to leader of government business in the House, Dr. Bernard Nottage, who could not confirm businessman Franklin Wilson's claim that government netted under $100 million for the controversial deal, but said he feels it received substantially less than $210 million.
There are fears that irregularities may have occurred, which have had a very serious financial impact on the government. and on its obligations.
The controversial deal, which was preceded by political rallies and protests back in 2011, was thrust back into the spotlight last month when the Christie administration signed a new deal of sorts with CWC. At the time of the first signing on April 6, 2011, the Ingram administration said it received the purchase price of $210 million from CWC paid in full, as well as in-kind and cash completion dividends from BTC amounting to $14.3 million.
It was sold for an amount of money that now seems relatively minuscule as to what its worth was. And it doesn't appear as if the figure that we were given as the sale, the cost of sale, is in fact the correct figure.
But does Nottage believe government netted less than half of the stated amount, as suggested by Franklin Wilson, who has not provided details to support that claim?
What I do believe is that it was significantly under the $200+ million that he told us it was.
Bamboo Town MP Renward Wells gave notice Wednesday night that at the next sitting of the House of Assembly, government will move to establish a select committee to investigate the 2011 sale. Nottage says it is very likely parliamentarians will be debating a request for a select committee, and if it's accepted by Parliament, the committee will be appointed.
In order for the public to be satisfied that they have all the facts, and that whatever allegations are made, either true or false, I think it's extremely important.
Deputy Leader of the Free National Movement, Loretta Butler Turner, says she does not fear the promised parliamentary investigation into the 2011 BTC sale. As a member of the Ingram administration, Butler Turner says while she may not have been privy to every single detail, she saw nothing untoward. The Deputy Leader says it seems as if the government's rehashing of the BTC sale is a way to debase the Ingram administration and the former Prime Minister. The Long Island MP added the planned investigation is a smokescreen to cover up government's incompetence and to distract from its lethargic legislative agenda. A local church is operating on a borrowed generator after thieves stole 200 feet of electrical wire. Temple of Praise Deliverance Ministries pastor Samuel Johnson says the theft is a major blow to the church's pockets and disrupted this week's services. Jasmine Bonamy has the details.
According to Pastor Johnson, the thieves crept onto the church's property during the early morning hours of Tuesday morning, where they made their way to this post that once held an electrical box and cut these wires, where they stole 200 feet of copper wire that connected electricity to the church.
Pastor Johnson says the church, which is located just off Calpin Road, was targeted between Monday night and Tuesday morning. He added that the theft was discovered after he arrived for a meeting Tuesday morning and flicked the light switch, but he was still surrounded by darkness.
We came here for a meeting on Tuesday, so I walked inside, turned the lights on, turned the switch on, that is, and there was no light. But lo and behold, we walked around the building there, and by walking around there, I saw where the cable, the electrical wire was cut. So I told those who were here that somebody stole the wires away. It's about over close to 200 feet of wire from there to the road.
When our news team arrived at the church this afternoon, BEC crews were working on getting the lights back on by relocating the electrical box on this lamp pole just a few feet away from the church. Johnson says the theft will be quite costly to repair, and they now have to come up with the funds to buy more wire and hire someone to carry out the work. He added that spending the funds to get the lights back on will hamper their charitable work.
And it kind of set us back, knowing that we do as much as we can to help other ministry. We sow seed in Great Commission. We sow seed in the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. We goes out also to Camp Road. We give food parcels and all of that, and we try to be as much as we can do to help, people in need. But now for this to happen, it really kind of put a stumbling block in your way, But through it all, by the grace of God, we know that God will make a way.
Johnson adds that this is not the first time the church has been targeted by thieves since it opened its doors in 2010.
Somebody also stole the toilet bowl from off the ground, and different things that they stole from us. And Also, a time ago, we had a load of sand, full with sand, and somebody came with a backhoe in a truck and stole the whole thing away.
He added that this latest theft is just another sign of how bad crime has gotten and how quickly it needs to be addressed.
It's very terrible the way our nation is now today. And we pray God that God will touch the hearts of these young men and really give us a revival, wake us up and turn the nation back to God, because the whole nation is in a crisis. And there's every time we need God, we really need him now. Like in the culture of our nation now, there is no fear for God. There is no fear for the law. And so these things, I guess you can only make yourself more secure, as far as to prevent certain things, but it shows you to the extent where our nation has become, and so I guess we just have to believe God that the Lord will really touch the heart of these men and change their heart.
Johnson is calling for stricter penalties for thieves. Last year, the government drafted a bill to govern all metal-based businesses, including those that deal in copper. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
In the wake of a fire that left one woman and her child dead and dozens of homes destroyed on Abaco late last year, Environment and Housing Minister Kenrick Dorsett says government is stepping up efforts to crack down on shanty towns throughout the Bahamas. Christina McNeil reports.
With more than 15 shanty towns identified on the island of New Providence alone, government's crackdown on shanty towns has been slow. But Dorsett says those efforts are being ramped up on the Family Islands, Abaco in particular, where a massive fire ravaged the Pigeon Peak community on New Year's Eve.
So that committee is working very aggressively, so much so that we are looking at building a unit within Abaco to focus specifically on that. And so while it has caused the leadership to kind of focus on Abaco, the team in Nassau still is functioning. But it's a mammoth undertaking.
Dorsett recently met with the members of Parliament for North and South Abaco to discuss plans for shanty communities on that island moving forward. He says that office will place members of the committee on the ground in Abaco to get a better sense of what work needs to be done in those communities. A 2013 Shantytown report revealed that there has been a marked increase in the number of new shantytowns on New Providence since 2011, with those populations increasing exponentially. Last summer, Dorsett announced that there would be consequences for people living in such areas if they're not operating within the law. In fact, several notices were issued and structures were identified for demolition. Well, in the wake of the fire in the Pigeon Peak, Dorsett and his team assessed the devastation and have prevented residents in the area from rebuilding.
We are minimizing any rebuilding within the area, which is a very good thing, but ultimately we have to develop a proper plan to relocate those who live in the area.
He was unable to say how many fire victims have sought government aid since the fire. Meanwhile, government is also concerned about the environmental impact shanty towns have on our communities. As much was revealed in the 2013 report, which noted that there is little to no regulated water system, no garbage collection services, and very little human waste disposal. Dorsett's team is now examining the impact communities in Abaco have had on the environment.
One thing that I'm concerned about is the environmental degradation that has occurred in the area. And so sadly, the fire has given us an opportunity to go in and have an area where we could begin doing some environmental testing and monitoring to see the extent of environmental degradation.
Dorsett noted that shantytowns traditionally operate outside the requirements for proper sanitation without regard to the building code and in violation of safety requirements for electricity. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.